Okay. Okay. Hello, everybody. This is my first live stream. So, what's happening here?
Get the sound.
Hold on a minute. Get the sound, but then I don't know if anybody can see or hear me. I'm hoping people can see and hear me. I'm hoping. So basically, this live stream video, I'm going to be talking about the Larapinta Trail. I posted a video on the 27th of June about the Larapinta Trail equipment pack list, and so this is just a follow up to that. So I guess I will start off talking about I'll just go sequentially through the various categories and just talk about what equipment worked well, what didn't, what I would have taken in hindsight, what I dumped at one of the drop boxes, and just and just what equipment broke and how we repaired it kind of on trail. So I guess to start off with, I'll talk about the first thing is pack. So I'll just grab it. This 75-liter MacPack backpack. And as I'd said in the previous video, it was brand new. I hadn't used it before, and I was a bit concerned with the harness system because I hadn't worn it in. Might be super uncomfortable. And that was the case. The arms, the harness were fine. It didn't cut into my underarms at all or anything like that. The problem was here. This it's a bit difficult to do. So you can see that this isn't very padded or anything like that. And when it actually, go around your stomach, it's sort of this part that's basically going to be around your stomach. And so the problem was, so the first day, we did the trip west to east. So our first day, my pack was over 17 kilos because I had to carry extra water because we went from Red Bank to Hilltop Lookout. And so basically at 17 kilos, the pack cut into my hip. And I kind of didn't really feel it or realize it at the time until I got up to Hilltop. When I got up there, I had about a blister, probably the size of like a 5-cent piece, that had formed, burst, and I guess just the constant friction had caused it to bleed, and it was kind of in a pretty bad way. So I started using the first aid kit pretty much the first day, and so I just covered it actually with a second skin Band-Aid, and I had the betadine solution that I put on it, and I had to wear that on my hip for the first 10 or so days until it had healed enough. So yeah, so I would advise using a pack that's well worn in if you just have a much lighter pack, because that was a problem, but I managed to treat it on trail and it didn't get infected and I was fine. And one did start to, because I was aware of the situation, I did put one on the other side of my hip, and it did start rubbing there as well. So I just had to kind of put preventative second skin Band-Aids, and they lasted a couple of days before I had to change them, just so that I could walk without being in pain. It was quite painful the first couple of days. So definitely don't take a pack that you haven't worn in. That was a poor choice. But other than that, the pack went really well. It was a great pack, and I was very happy with it. I ended up taking, I didn't take the dry bag option that I spoke about. I ended up just taking a couple of small dry bags that I could put the electronics and things like that in, and a few garbage bags. And this will become important when I talk about further on what sort of happened to us. So I probably should have taken a dry bag that I could put in my pack, that I could put the entire contents of my pack into to seal, because we did have quite a lot of rain, but so I did take the pack cover, and that was a really good choice, I think, if it hadn't actually rained those days, because the pack cover I just put on. Sometimes I slept in the shelters at the trailheads. Other times, I slept in the tent and the pack was kind of out where there wasn't a shelter. We weren't at a trailhead. We were sort of either at a high camp or something like that. And I would just put the pack cover on to stop the dew getting on my pack, and that was a super good choice. So I'm glad I did take that. And we did have a bit of drizzle here and there, so it was good that I had that and I could put it on the pack. But I think in hindsight, the dry where the entire contents of my pack could go into it, would have been a much better option, because well, I might as well discuss it now. But yeah, we went from Hilltop to, so Leo, what day did we go to Waterfall Gorge? That was after Ormiston. Whenever we went to camp at Waterfall Gorge, I can't remember the order of the campsites. But basically, when we were on the Mount Giles lookout, it was a beautiful day, beautiful sunny day. I had my drone out. I was, videoing us walking up on top of the Mount Giles lookout. It was beautiful. And then we started to go down, and we knew that it was predicted rain later in the day. And they said like a couple of mils, that night. And so we weren't kind of expecting it when we started coming down the lookout to just start pouring rain. And we did find out that it was actually more like 10 mils, not just a couple of mils. And when I talk about our tent and I get to like the shelter sleeping section, so my pack did get quite wet and all the contents, except for the electronics and the food that I had in individual dry bags. So that's pack. So I'll just put that back there. The next on the list was boots, socks, shoelaces. So boots. So I loved my boots. I had the Zamberland 996 Bios GTX boots. I had worn them in for about 2 weeks. I didn't get a single blister on the trail. The only issue I had was I'd almost broken my little toe a few days before the hike, and it was black, and I was a bit worried about that, my ability to walk and for not to make my toe worse. And so I was a bit concerned about that, but the boots were great. When I get to the first aid section, I'll talk a little bit about what I should have taken in my first aid kit and what I was gifted at the Red Bank Gorge campsite. But yeah, boots were great. I'll just show you them because there's been a lot of conjecture whether or not you need like full-on hiking boots, but I need the ankle support. I didn't feel any rocks. They were sturdy. They were solid. I didn't get a single blister. They really held up to it because I was carrying quite a lot of weight, and the boots held up, but they got ripped to shreds. So you can see if you have a look at my video of my boots before, these are the after. So toes are just completely ripped to shreds, and yeah, there's just like the rocks just really sliced everything up. So just both of them are the same, just ripped to shreds. So that was one of the issues. I'm glad I took spare shoelaces because a rock pretty much just sliced through one of my laces on I think the second day. They started to fray. So glad I took spare shoelaces, and I ended up taking 2 pairs of the woolen socks, and I would wear a pair, and then I just rotate them every day. And when I got to camp, I had a little clothesline, and I would hang them out to dry. So just rotated the socks, and so the footwear, that's the footwear section. Leo wasn't so lucky with his boots. He had some Scarpa boots, so if he wants to just grab his, and he can come in and tell you what happened to his boots on the trail. And how we managed to fix them on the trail. So let's wait for Leo to get here. But we're lucky we were getting into Ormiston Gorge. Ormiston Gorge the day that happened. So it's Leo.
Hey everybody. So we're getting to choose like you try like we told you, it's like the important part of your gear on the Larapinta trail. Saying that doesn't really explain too much because you see people with different kind of shoes, just running shoes, hard leather shoes. Most of them like these are free leather, but hiking shoes. You can see the brands. You have also type of Scarpa, not the leather ones, and you had also I forgot the French one, the French brand. But we kind of put price on these shoes, being like, okay, we really need good ones because otherwise it can be a real problem. It's not really replaceable, so it's like a end of the trail for you. And like what I realized is like the shoes glue just only on the side started like to be removed. Like you literally like the laser was detaching from the sole. And that's the main problem. It was alighted. So
This was 2 days into the trip
yeah,
as
literally you can
well.
see like
The sole started peeling off.
both sides of my on my my feet were, like started peeling off. So I started to stress about it because it was literally painful. So quite early on. Fortunately, I met like a nice guy. Like literally, I was out of option. The shoe was not just for the point, so I knew that I would still move forward.
Yeah,
For
I
Western
mean,
Gorge and be like, try
yes.
to move forward. They're just like, well, what's going to happen? So people were like giving me ideas, being like, oh, you can use duct tape. For sure, I think it's the
So
best
I
one.
brought the
It was.
Tarzan grip duct tape and the what are those? The cable ties as well.
Yeah,
So, but I mean, that's not going to last. That wouldn't last the next 18 or 15 days of the trek. Like we were quite concerned at this point because like that's the kind of fix that would last a couple of days.
yeah,
We were doing some quite rocky sections ahead, and I didn't want his like to slip because he's got like tape on the bottom. Like I've done trips before where someone slipped off doing the Williams River there because they put tape on their shoes and they've slipped off and had to get helicopter rescue because they've fallen into the water off a cliff. So yeah, I didn't want any problems. So yeah, so he didn't. So we didn't bring shoe glue because we didn't think we were going to need it when we bought brand new, super expensive shoes. So we get
but
to
at the end,
Ormiston
yeah. So we can
Gorge.
do Smithson
So,
Gorge. I'm quite desperate because I asked like many people like, does it have any shoe glue? The shop doesn't have anything right here. On the Chasm, a few products in terms of sunscreen.
yeah, they had a lot of personal protective items, and yeah, just and toiletries at Stanley Chasm, but they didn't at Ormiston because they didn't want people to rely on.
Yeah,
And they had a lot of
definitely.
first aid stuff.
But the thing is, like, so I started actually to do not work anymore, and so like I was literally asking like bystanders by any chance with any sugar, and one of them, okay, it wasn't sugar, but it was like a flexible glue. So, like super glue is too hard,
Flexible,
so
yeah, sort of shoe glue.
but so yeah, so I had like to put literally like in the between the sole and the laser, like to put this. I knew it wouldn't work perfectly. I was like, it's more like a preemptive to try to minimize as possible the fact that it's going to continue to split with the sugar and yeah, that's what we're doing. It kind of worked to be honest. I didn't
Yeah,
have any problems for the rest of the trip.
we got through the next 15
So
days, and your shoe
yeah,
stayed together.
some people told me like, oh, it's maybe the feet that's starting to be like on its own, but I was like, that's quite strange in the way that all the rest of the shoe was okay, and this one was like splitting up.
We
It
think
was
they
like
may have been sitting in the factory for a while because they were brand new. Sometimes, if you leave them in cupboards, you don't wear them when they're sitting in the factory for a while, the glue can deteriorate. So we think maybe he's got a bad
yeah, there's so many people like it's mentioned.
batch
So
of.
yeah, so typically in terms of shoes, it can happen to anybody.
So
Like,
take shoe glue.
you invest in some shoes and you realize that things can happen. Like, and in the end, on the Larapinta trail, you see everything. Like, we see people with runners. We've seen one woman getting out of a youth coach, and she was like, "I don't want to see any rocks anymore." And I just looked at her shoes; it was literally destroyed. It wasn't like a
That
hiking,
scared me.
like it was like running trail. I mean, running. When I say running, running
Like trail runner shoes.
trail running shoes.
But
Yeah,
yeah, they
and
were destroyed, and her legs and knees were up, and she's like, I never want to see another rock again. And we're like, oh my god.
yeah.
But we went, yeah, but we didn't have any really issues with rocks except the pass. Like we took the high road.
The high road definitely was.
So the low route was meant to have all the like the rock hopping. So there wasn't really any coming into Ormus to Stanley Chasm. There was some rocks, but not a whole lot. Like we didn't really
The ridge.
have any issues with rocks.
It's not the ridge. I forgot like back. Well, it's quite like that you can fall through where you go. It's okay, but yeah, like you have stories of people like they just see the rocks and literally like cut off like, the soul. So
When we were at Ormiston, a guy came walking in and he had duct tape all over half of his shoe holding it together.
So yes, this can happen. You can't really prevent it.
But then, so I think we were in section 2 at the end, and we saw that couple. Remember they were having a swim in the river. Where was that?
So in the
we
end,
did like a little side trip to West Memory. What was that little side?
The name of my savior was Ron, and
Something
unfortunately, Ron, I don't have any more your shoe glue because I had to give it like on section 9 or section 2 or
It was 1 or 2, and it was where we did that little. There were those. Had a look at there was like a.
I think it was section 1 because the
500
next
meters.
day it was how we were going to finish that.
what was the name of the side trip? Was it the Scorpion Pool? Or was that
Scorpion Pool, yeah. It's
Yeah.
between it's 6 and
Something
1,
like
definitely. But
Yeah.
the thing, like, yeah, and the guy like came and asked me, and said, like, "Oh, do you have a shoe?" And yeah, I gave it to him. Like, this flexible glue. I told him like it's not really proper shoe glue, but that's the
I mean,
best I have right now.
they only had like singles, and their sole had completely detached, and they asked. And like, because we didn't really see their shoes, and I'm like, oh, we don't have super glue. And then they showed us their shoes, and I'm like, oh, you don't want super glue, you need a flexible glue. And then we're like, we have shoe glue, and then yeah, so they managed to managed to pay it forward. So thanks, Ron, because you probably saved our trip there.
And somebody else.
Yeah, and some other people. So yeah, so that was lucky. So yeah, I think just it's important. I mean, it doesn't weigh anything. It's kind of super useful. So you never know. Never know. We saw so many people whose shoes shredded.
For many things, it's like, oh, it's weight nothing, but still, when you had up a lot of small things like this,
I
you
get
can
that,
decide
and that's
for
why I
points,
dumped a
like,
lot of gear.
and some of the points
Which
is
I'll
like,
get
yeah,
to.
you have like 100 grams, it's like a kilo.
Yeah,
That's so
yeah.
it's a trade-off. We didn't take the sugar because we're like, well, we invested in it, so I'm pretty confident, but it can happen to
Yeah.
anybody. Like the Shankle shoe was like fine.
Yeah,
It's just
I
they
highly
ripped,
recommend those
and
shoes.
literally, I
Hopefully
must
Scarpa will
say,
replace them.
often I was right, like with the fact that you're eating rocks, literally the front of your shoes is, I mean, our boss of shoes is completely like destroyed. I mean, destroyed. Like the lasers really like attack. You can see like it's.
Yeah.
And I know like the Scarpa have like a version one. They have like a more expensive one. One literally is have like a small like protection. So and yeah, you really bang the rocks. That's what you do for most of the trails when you're going like.
Yeah, in hindsight, I might have just put some of that Tarzan duct tape over the top just to protect them a little bit. But anyway, we'll move on because we're going to try and keep this at about an hour. Do you have anything else to say about the boot footwear related items?
Well, that's it. I will see if I get a refund or not. It was like the good thing was the issue is the fact that I was in really quite early.
Yeah.
I always have problem with my feet. I have like wet feet. Always have problems with the blisters. Always, even for like I would say like sneakers, running shoes, hiking shoes. I have problem between before my I always get a lot of blisters. It's fitting. So and this is the first one that didn't have that. To be honest, but it's also like well, I was protecting my heel was like.
Yeah, I mean we'll get to that when we get to the first aid section. Talk about what we did for Leo's blisters. We get to that section, preventative as well as treatment. Yeah, we were gifted at Red Bank Gorge, which I would highly recommend. So the next section was clothing and clothes. I only took one set of clothes. That was a good choice. No problems. They were fine. Only issue is I did some Spinifex, which punctured my pants. They held together for the trip, but yeah, I think in hindsight I would have probably put a second pair in drop boxes. I didn't book any retrievals, so I had to when I realised I could carry the weight and I had to dump stuff in one of the drop boxes, I then had to call them up and book a retrieval, which cost a lot more doing it after the fact than if I had booked it pre-trek. But yeah, so maybe another pair of pants. Everything held up pretty well. I'm glad I only took one set. I really, underwear, they were great. I had two pairs. I just washed one when I get to camp and get changed my night clothes, hang them up. They dried within like 5 minutes. Leo took two pairs of like quick drying material, but they a lot of the time would only have a couple of hours of sunlight at the end of the day. And yeah, like I said, mine dried, and a lot of the time his didn't. So I'd highly recommend it. Yeah, the day clothing was all a good choice. I did dump.
Yeah, my underwear were like more synthetic because of the friction that's been to have problems. So yeah, I can try maybe for next time.
Yeah,
I had two swap it. Like, so.
Yeah, that's if you can hear that bang, it's the dog at the door. I gave him a bone. Must have finished it. Clothing night. So clothing that I wore. I was cold. I was quite cold. I mean, I do feel the cold, but I wore all the time because it was freezing of a night. There were some mornings like at Ellery Creek, we woke up and there were icicles on the tent. Like it was cold. Even in just walking around, I wore gear on. I didn't dump any of it. And there were some mornings where I had to wear the merino t-shirt under my long sleeve walking day shirt. So yeah, I took all the night clothes. I even took the merino and the actual buff, and I wore them all. And one piece of kit I highly recommend for our day clothing was the buff. That was just essential. I used it for everything. You're quite exposed, like especially on sections 1 and 2. There's no shade. Um, the buff. I mean, there wasn't much of me exposed to the sun except parts of my face that weren't covered by a hat and sunglasses and my hands. Like, again, I would recommend taking just a really lightweight pair of gloves because our hands did get quite burnt. And also, Leo did slip coming down. Where were you? Was it Mount when we were going down?
High road.
But yeah, Leo just slipped and fell on his bum to brace himself and cut his hand open. So yeah, I mean, we applied first aid at the time. It's fine to get infected, but yeah, so I'd recommend just a pair of lightweight gloves, sunburn, and yeah, just I mean, the rocks are sharp and they're useful. You don't want to get burnt. I saw people out on the trail wearing really short shorts, tank tops. Like I don't know how they just didn't get sunburned. Like yeah, it's just so exposed.
It's just at one point we did it with pretty tight, like trim that the sunscreen just like wash off with the sweat or like to do river crossing. So the fact that you have like clothes is the best way on the long
Yeah,
run
like
to be
100%.
protected. So
I'm pasty white, so like I sunburn
regarding
easily.
the gloves, but yeah, like that it's only part that I still have like the mark where like
Yeah, from the hiking sticks.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
literally, but otherwise than that, it's not big deal. Yeah,
Yeah.
the glove maybe a bit kill, but the fact that we have long pants, long sleeve, also
Big
shirts.
broad rimmed hat. Yeah, I'd recommend all that sort of stuff because the sun is unrelenting and it just like radiates off the rocks. Like I haven't experienced anything quite like that before.
It's quite yeah. We had it was the first few days because I mean nice. It was we were like you were complaining it was cold.
The first week we had the 40 mil torrential rain Red Rain Gorge, and then we had the 10 mil when we were at Waterfall Gorge. And so the first week was kind of overcast and actually wasn't that hot. But after that, it got hot.
And
But
yeah, you realize given in the middle of winter, like in the northern, if you're not in wind and it's like perfect sky, yeah, the temperature was like 28 degrees.
yeah, and it feels like it feels like a lot hotter when it was like 26. It feels more like 40. It's super hot. Yeah, and just dry and yeah. So so I recommend just trying to cover up as much as you can. Also, you can't shower too, so if you're putting layers of sunscreen and sweat and dirt, and it's just going to layer and layer and layer itself. It's it's going to be hard to clean. So yeah, I just recommend covering up. So I think that's all our day clothes recommendations. Next category is shelter and sleeping. So one of the main issues. First of all, I'll talk about the tent. So freestanding tent. We didn't have a freestanding tent. That was a poor choice. In hindsight, so we took kind of we were unsure about that. We didn't want to spend $1,000 on a new tent, a good lightweight 2-person tent that is freestanding just for this trip because I do like my Lantern Ultralight. It's a great tent. The problem is it's not freestanding, and it's okay if it's not raining because you can, like I know that a lot of these campsites were rocky, sandy, and so that we would have trouble putting up a new freestanding tent. But we did watch a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of people's recommendations, and they're like, you don't really need to have a freestanding tent. There are rocks everywhere. You can use rocks to secure, the ends of your tent. We bought extra rope in case to really be able to tie it out with the rocks. And if the rocks just that sharp, fray the rope. And plenty of spare rope. We had all these sorts of things. That's okay if it's not raining. Problem was, like I said, coming down the Mount Charles Lookout to Waterfall Gorge, it started raining like quite heavy, and so so it started probably raining halfway down. So about half an hour's worth of going down the Mount Charles Lookout, towards the Alice Springs, towards Waterfall Gorge. It started really raining heavily, and then you have to walk a couple of k's along the river, and that's when it's like big rocks and heavy pack. I'm short. it was difficult. Slipping, it's raining. I ended up with more bruise than skin on some of my legs. I injured myself quite a lot, just slipping. It's really hard. And then we got to the campsite, and when you first get there coming from the west, um, there was like a pool of water and I think if you climb up over there, sort of up over the wall, there's more campsites, but we were like we got there, it was about 4 o'clock at that point. It gets kinda dark at about oh, no, it was okay. It was about 4 o'clock, and we're like, we just wanna put our tent up as soon as possible. Everything's getting wet. And so we got the tent out and we're trying to put it up, and it wouldn't stay up. We couldn't, we're trying to put it up essentially on rock and hard ground. It was just impossible, and, like, because it was raining so heavily, the tent was just getting saturated. All that we were putting in it was saturated. We couldn't put the fly on properly again because we just couldn't, like, secure it tight enough, and we end up having a really wet night. All our gear was wet. The only thing that was dry was our food and electronics. We had water in the tent like this the next morning, a couple of inches. It was just, yeah, it was quite a miserable night, to be honest. And that was probably the low point for both of us on the Larapinta. Um, it was really difficult. And so yeah, so, and then the next day we were getting to a trailhead and it was okay, we could grab our gear and everything like that. But yeah, like it was a real poor choice not taking a freestanding tent. So if it's going to be raining, and just by luck, it happened that it was heavier than predicted, and we were at a trailhead and we had no shelter, which is it was unlucky, but that's what things happen, and so you need to be prepared. So I don't recommend not taking a freestanding tent. I would definitely take a freestanding tent. I mean, in the future, and anyone else doing Larapinta Trail, because you just never know, the weather can turn in an instant, despite predictions. So yeah, so that was something. And I also did get a hole in my tent, so I did have to use the tent patch kit as well. I think just from all the sharp rocks. Oh, and speaking of that, we did add a piece of kit at the last minute, and that was based on a YouTube video we watched. I think Alex's Adventures or something like that. Alex's Australian Adventures. He recommended taking a closed foam mat, so we end up packing this piece of kit at the last minute. So I couldn't get the brand that I wanted. So this one is a Mount Designed one from Anaconda. So it's quite bulky and it takes up space. It's a bit heavier than an option I've got at the time. But I just 100% recommend this. Like, not so much that I was worried about. Well, actually, we'll get to that because Leo's failed. He can tell you about that in a minute. But I don't think they failed. They didn't fail because they got punctured. Yeah, he'll tell you about his exped mat in a minute. But I think I bought just that really thick plastic bunny and cut a footprint for my tent, and with that, it makes sense. I think it would have been okay. But this was just invaluable for other reasons. I ended up dumping my Equinox chair, which I would sell just because I couldn't carry the weight. Like my shoes, I'll talk about that in a minute. But anyway, I dumped my expert chair, so I would sit on this at lunchtime because I put it at the bottom of my pack on the outside, so I could just easily it was easily accessible. So basically, I would sit on this for lunch. Also, we would put it under our mat inside the tent of a night as well, but also just to lay your gear out on when you get to camp. Dirt, the ground's wet. In the mornings too, because we would start the trailer. We get up around, I guess, 5:30, between like 5 and 6, but usually 5:30, and try and walk as far as we could while it was cooler before the sun peaked at midday. And so yeah, the ground was wet a lot from dew. We laid out to pack our gear. When we got to the trailhead shelters, we could just lay it out, have a nap, rest our feet. It was just I just 100% recommend it. It was really worthwhile. So we added that at the last minute as well. So my expert mat was fine. All my other sleeping items were okay. Pillow, sleeping bag. Leo can tell you now about his expert mat. Yeah, he can about your expert mat, honey. So he's failed. So
Yeah, I mean,
in my equipment pack, this is his expert mat. I don't know what kind it is.
has a link. It's a version. It's like an XL because it's extra length.
Yeah, he needed
It's
the
like
extra length.
It's just to be able to sit. Yeah, to be honest, because otherwise it's short. But yeah, it's only like that.
So what day was this? So we noticed this happened a couple of days before we got to Serpentine Chalet Dam campsite.
Yeah,
Where we were able to actually repair it. Because what the issue is, sorry, you can say what the issue was before I talk about other
well, it was
issues.
deflating during the. What happens like when we had the heavy rain, like we're sleeping in the wet tent, like with that we had like the afternoon rain.
Yeah.
Literally, like it was flat. Like I
Oh,
was
right.
sleeping
You really do.
on the mat.
Laugh, and it wasn't funny at the time, but yeah. So poor
Yeah.
Leo. Yeah.
I don't know. Best night because I was so tired. I had to shut off. Like, one of my best nights on the trail was like literally a shitty night.
I was rehydrating, like snoring.
Yeah,
and because we couldn't light the building or anything like that, it was asphyxiated in the tent. It was torrential rain. We end up just like rehydrating with cold water. That was
yeah.
a
So
poor
the
choice.
next day we were at Dam.
Damn. Yeah.
Yes, there was a pool, and it was still like we quite arrived early, but because everything was like let's dry
Yeah.
everything out and just had the like
It was a beautiful
refuge.
sunny day. We just laid
Yeah.
everything out.
Actually. And the thing is, like, what happened? So I then decided like to inflate my mask. I was like, well, is that deflate again? Like after like 10 minutes, it was starting to deflate again. I was like, okay, let's. And there was a big pool like towards the dam, which actually is strange because the dam is like you can see like a concrete dam built in the middle of nowhere, and this was just white here.
So we didn't go in the dam. We
It's
went
like-
at a pool that was lower down.
And so lower down we have the pool until like I like to carry it with my
Carry it
Crocs
over
on,
your
on the
head.
rocks. And yeah, like and then I just found the bubbles. And it's
So we had to. So it's obviously difficult to find where a hole would potentially be. So we pushed it. We merged it. Yeah.
Typically, what you do is
under the water.
use like a bike.
Yeah, like if you're going to do it, we needed get some water on it.
The tube, the hair tube
Yeah.
for tires. Like
You put it in a sink or a bucket of water or something.
It's
Yeah.
the same. So we had a big pool, and so I inflated. And then I see the bubbles like coming out at the edge of the valve. I don't know
Yeah.
if you can see properly. And what I had to do is like put the glue like so with experts like a specific glue that we carried.
So we
this,
carried the Exped patch kit.
and
with it.
yeah, you do like a multiple layer, and that's not the worst part because pretty much around here, is like you need to have flexibility, have the open, close. It's like a nice spot where you can do it, and then you patch it, and so like it's flat and stuff. No, so I had to hold it 3 levels. You put like one time the glue, then it dries, and you put the second around, and then you repeat that, like 3 times pretty much. And for now, it kind of works. I would say that it's keeping tight. But yeah, you can see like clearly that because part of it was like glued to the cap.
Yeah.
So you see like the glue, like it's moving. It's not really holding. So I don't know how long how it will
I'm
go.
hoping that's the warranty. It's just, because it failed at the valve. That's like the most difficult part to patch. If it had been anywhere else, it would have been okay. And that's another reason why we had the closed cell foam mat because Leo really needed that when his Exped mat.
It's one of the best pieces of equipment
Yeah.
because literally you can sit everywhere. And because I make the big decision to not take the chair, I could sit on it pretty much everywhere. So yeah, that's the biggest. Like
Yeah,
I think
Leo,
it's the best one to be bought. Like
yeah, definitely, 100%. It was a really good choice. So I think that's it for the sleeping sections. Next category is water and hydration. So we took the life straw, that had like a bag that we could filter water in.
it's a gravity.
Yeah, and we took a few different carbon filter replacements because I think each carbon filter only does 100 liters of water. And so I'm really glad that we did take. See, I don't like you can get there's very different ways you can sterilize water. You can use the tablets, but that doesn't filter water. I used to have the little the UV sterilizer. Again, that doesn't filter water, and so we needed to filter water at Waterfall Gorge, at Fringe Lily, and at Fringe Lily. Now we didn't take our water at Fringe Lily from near the campsite because everybody bathes in there. It's quite disgusting. If you walk further up, maybe I don't know, down. Well,
South.
yeah.
The direction is south.
If you walk south, there's a big pool where you can swim. There's water but it's got a lot of moss. And so one of the issues, or you have to let that dog in because he keeps splashing. So yeah, this is the little bladder thing. So basically, there's no carbon filter in there anymore, but you replace the carbon filters. And so we did that roughly every 100 litres. The problem was you've got this other filter sort of thing here. I don't know if you can see it. Basically, that lasts for 2,000 litres. And sometimes it does get clogged. I have an actual here. And so basically, we didn't take clean it. And so basically, just fill that with water and force the water the opposite way, so it blows all the anything that's clogging the filter. And so we didn't bring this with us, and because of the and stuff like that, just debris, and it wouldn't. It was quite slow anyway. Like it would take maybe 20 minutes to fill a 1 litre Nalgene bottle, and so if we had to fill up all 4 and a couple of extra litres of water, it took about 2 hours.
Normally, it takes like 5 minutes to bottle.
Normally, but because it took a long time. Normally it would take 5 minutes. And so the problem was, so what we end up doing, we was like put some water in your mouth and try and blow into it. And that actually worked. It's got all this stuff coming out. But it was super slow. After that point, it got super slow. We were filtering all the time. We didn't want to risk getting any digestive distress, any kind of dysentery or anything like that. We didn't want to get sort of issues from drinking water. And it's not just necessarily the water's contaminated, just the water as well can have different particulates upset your stomach. So yeah, we didn't want any digestive distress anyway. All our water, but that was one of the problems. I think maybe having a secondary sort of option, because there were some nights we wanted to go to bed and we just had to sit in water for like an extra half an hour to an hour. So it's really bashing at the door. Just let the dog in. Hopefully, it won't be too annoying. But I did work quite well. And you can't really replace that filter. You have to just replace the whole life straw. So, but yeah, it was quite slow towards the end. But yeah, it worked well, but just slow. So we have to sort of start the water purification process as soon as we got to camp. So, did you have anything else to add to the water and hydration section? Go sit down. Yeah, like once we blew it out, it did go a lot quicker, but still not 5 minutes. It maybe took about 10 or so. It was a bit slow. So it'd take us an hour to fill up water for the next day. So next section was food preparation. We were pretty happy. We had the Sumo jet boiler. We're happy with that. Our food cookware was great. I think we panicked. We had LTTS do for our transport and our drop boxes, and we ordered quite a lot. We ordered gas bottles. I'm not sure what size they were, but then you got 280 and 130 or something like that. We ordered 2 big ones and 2 medium sized ones, way too much. So we ended up cancelling one of the large orders. There was so many gas canisters at Red Bank campsite and at Stanley Chasm, and also like at the hotel before we went. Because when you go with LTTS, they only pick you up from select hotels. And a lot of the people, when they finish their trip, put gas bottles there. So there was a lot of gas bottles, so you could probably get away. I mean, that's the thing, you can't really just there be ones there and not buy them, gas canisters. But yeah, we only used. Now we would boil water for like a cup of tea or something like that in the morning, chocolate. Boil water about like I guess on average it was about 6 for it to rehydrate our meal of a night, and then we would maybe have super hot chocolate for another 500 mils between us. So maybe we were boiling about, I'd say maybe 2 litres a day, and I think one of the small ones, the 130-gram one, I think easily have lasted for the 2 of us. So that's kind of the amount of gas you would need if. And then the next is food. I'm glad. I'm super happy that I dehydrated prior to leaving, because we did try some of the commercially available Radix meals, and they were super disappointing. They weren't that great, to be honest, compared to what we were eating, I guess, and we were still hungry after it. Really happy that we did all that. The only thing regarding food is like I'm really over Cliff Bars. I had one every day, and I had 3 different varieties. I think that joy. Um, I think that yeah, like I think the thing is when we got to Lone Wolf at the end, when we finished, we went back to Alice Springs. Leo wanted to look at Lone Wolf, and they had different other flavors of like Cliff Bars. And he's like, "Oh, I have to get these." Right, I'm like, "I don't want to see a Cliff Bar again." And he was trying all the different varieties, but yeah, Cliff Bars were really good. They were great compared to some of the other energy bars. Really just Cliff Bars were great, and I'm glad I had one a day, but I was just really over it by the end. Um, and we also took way too much food, and so I left a lot the at the Serpentine Gorge drop off. Yeah, it was Serpentine.
Wisdom was the first but
Yeah, so that's where we left. That's where I dumped the Helix chair. And dumped I couldn't wait. Like every day at the hike, so my big toe went numb on day one. Um, so, and I still haven't. It's not fully. I haven't got the foot back in it. I may have about 20% feeling back in it, but it's gone. Um, and you wouldn't think like my Helix chair and my drone weighed 2 kilos, and you wouldn't think that'd make a difference, but it did. Like my feet every night felt like they were in a vice, getting squeezed. Sometimes the pain was so bad I couldn't sleep, and so I'm like, I have to get rid of some weight. And just shedding that 2 kilos just made all the difference. Never got the feeling back in my big toe, but on my left foot, but it made it, and I wasn't in pain, so much pain at the end of the day, and so much pain walking. So yeah, super glad that I got rid of those. But in terms of food, so yeah, and so when we got to the step box where I was dumping all that stuff, I'm like, we did take so much food in that first leg that we didn't eat all of it. We still had like 2 days worth of food, so we really just cut back on the food. Got to the second drop box, and left so much of it still in the drop box. That was a poor choice because the second section was probably like the hardest section, and I was hungry. I was hungry. I should have taken more food. Um, yeah, and I also because we kind of started so early, like get up and go. I didn't tend to make coffee in the morning. We didn't tend to make coffee in the mornings, so I wish I had have taken more hot chocolates and cups of soup. So yeah, so that's the only food related issues. What issues? Food
no,
prep.
actually.
No, I think everything was generally pretty good. And next section is lighting. So yeah, so I can't remember what my course was. It was a 4 class, but I can't remember the exact one. You have to check the other video. But so I was tossing up 2 different backs. So one you could add the 3 AAA batteries to, and the other one was like a rechargeable battery. I didn't know which one I was going to take because I didn't want to kind of use my power banks to charge a torch. I kind of wanted to conserve them for my GoPro, my drone. But I was a bit concerned about having to carry the weight of the depleted batteries, extra batteries. So anyway, I took both. Glad I did. I started off, it was already recharged. So I started off with a rechargeable. It lasted like 7 days. Then it started, I know when the battery's getting low because it'll start blinking. I know I've got roughly a day of power then. And so it started blinking. So they lasted about 7 days. So that's, we were getting up at 5. So that was like 2 hours before it got light, where we were just, breaking camp and having breakfast and all the sorts of breaking camp tasks you have. And then sometimes, walking a little bit so we had the torch on before it got full sunlight. And then it got dark at 7. So basically, we kind of 7 o'clock's like the hiker's midnight. So we would eat around 6 and we'd be in bed by 7 usually. So, in the event I'd had to get up just to use the bathroom or something like that. So it would last about, I guess, 2.5 hours a day for 7 days, the rechargeable battery. I thought that was pretty good. When that ran out, I put batteries in last 2 days. So yeah, 2 days. So definitely the rechargeable battery was way better. And yeah, I don't think Leo had any issues with his torch. Repair and maintenance. So the only other, so yeah, we did use a lot of the repair and maintenance stuff. We used the tent repair kit, the XPED repair kit. We used what else? But we would have taken, buddy. Yeah. We would have taken shoe glue. That's the only other repair and maintenance item we would have taken. We didn't use the duct tape, I don't think. didn't use the. We did use the rope because we needed to replace that on the because it frayed the sharp rocks. But yeah, so we did kind of use everything. So I'm glad we had the little repair and maintenance as well. The other thing, survival. So I ended up taking the Swiss Army knife. I didn't take the bigger opposite knife. So I ended up taking the Swiss Army knife, and I didn't really use it for anything except for opening the vacuum seal packets of food for dinner, and yeah, didn't really need it, but it's good to have a knife. You never know. Yeah, I ended up taking that, and oh, so I ended up taking the Spot Gen 3 instead of the Garmin. So I just had the Spot Gen 3. That was I ended up just deciding to take that in the end. And then I could just send We're Okay messages with our longitude and latitude to my family every day, so they could, and so they could follow our progress, and know we're okay. So that worked fine for us. And if needed, we had the we could call a helicopter. So yeah, Spot Gen 3 was fine. Didn't use the live tracking function or anything like that. And what else? So the next section is hygiene. So yeah, in hindsight, never end up using the deodorant. Just yeah, once you're on the trail, I mean, we just smelled bad all the time. Except there was 2 places we could have showers at Stanley Chasm and at Palmerston Gorge. We had the 2 showers when we could. We went swimming whenever we could. So obviously the Hugh Gorge water crossing, we had a bit of a swim to wash our clothes and stuff like that. We had a swim at Ellery North, at Fringely Creek. So yeah, we sort of tried to keep clean the best we could that way. Didn't end up using the wipes. The wipes were so heavy, we ended up dumping a lot of them. We didn't use them, to be honest. A lot of the time. So I regret taking wipes as soon as I could as well. What other hygiene? I think everything else we used. And that was fine. One of the hygiene issues is so the fact now they've introduced fees for walking the Larapinta Trail. You have the National Parks Pass. I think that's $60 per person for the year if you're going to be over 14 days worth of days in the year, and then you have to pay per campsite. And I think between the two of us, it was something like what $560 or something like that. So the fact they've introduced camping fees, you would expect that. So at each trailhead, at the end of each section, you would have the platforms, the shelters with maps and somewhere undercover. You would have the drop toilets, you would have 2 water tanks, and you would expect that now they've introduced camping fees that they would be. Unfortunately, a lot of the time the logbooks were just completely full, and people just have random sheets of paper. Now that's not really that great in an emergency situation where people, rescue personnel are trying to locate you, keep track of your movement. So it's a bit disappointing there. And also, a lot of the toilets just had run out of toilet paper. So again, now that you're paying, campsites, you would expect it better maintained. So yeah, a lot of the time there's no toilet paper. So carry toilet paper. Yeah, and the water was fine. It was always a good supply, and the shelters were generally quite clean. The USB charges in there, because we were doing it over 18 days, we would get to our campsite quite early, and most of it worked. I mean, if you're getting there later, they depleted, and obviously they don't not up once it gets dark. So we really had no problem recharging. It's just knocking the table. So yeah, so just Matt because often there isn't any on the trail, and also the high camps. We camped at Hilltop Lookout, um, Brinkley's Bluff, and obviously there are no toilets there. But then you do have like other campsites that do have just drop toilets, like Wallaby Gap, Simpsons Gap, and the one campsite I really didn't enjoy was Rocky. Yeah, so places like that, they will have the drop toilets and water tanks, but not trail information. Yeah, so and also personal protection. So yeah, we use sunscreen. We use all the personal protection stuff that we took. So mosquitoes and flies. I guess it's kind of, I guess that's seasonal. because a friend of mine when we were on Hilltop Lookout, he said there was so many midges they just couldn't be outside. We cowboy camped there. There wasn't a single insect around. So it's very seasonal and depending on when you go. But we took a fly mosquito net, and Rocky Gully was the first place where we encountered flies and had to wear it. Because again, it was quite hot there. There was no shade. It wasn't the nicest spot. I don't recommend staying there. But yeah, and then the next day, heading east, we had flies. So it was only those 2 days when we had to wear a fly net. Um, and mosquitoes. The first day we encountered mosquitoes was at Fringely Creek, because it had rained heavily and there was lots of water where we were camping, and we kind of didn't even realize it, but the only place they could really bite, because we had our big puffy down jackets on, and the only place they could really bite around had merino John pants, and before we knew it, our legs we were alive. Mosquito bites and skin. Leo reacts badly to them, and so and we did bring Bushmans. We had two. We had the red one and we had the Bushmans. And we carried the stuff with spray. And so I'm kind of allergic to a lot of so I was a bit concerned, but Leo had to spray it on, and we also part of the first aid goes, thank God, because the itch was just so bad we couldn't sleep. And so we would have to, and I actually used for the next 3 days. There were mosquitoes, and yeah, we had to like spray our legs with Bushmans when we got changed, and then before we went to bed of a night, we had to spray ourselves with the stingos for a couple of days until they stopped. And at that point, again, there were no mosquitoes. So I think, so yeah, so we did have a few issues. I'm glad that we did take those things in the medical kit. We pretty much used everything in the medical kit, to be honest, which I think is the next personal protection, first aid. So yeah, we pretty much used everything in there. And I would say, so the good things and bad things, the elastoplast tape doesn't stay on. As soon as you start walking and sweating. Now I didn't use any of this stuff, but Leo did. So he strapped the back of his as a preventative measure against blisters. And the elastoplast tape, which we added, we didn't have that in our pre-trek equipment list video. We added that. That was another item we added last minute. Was the elastoplast tape, and yeah, it just didn't stay on Leo. It would just peel off, and within an hour, didn't withhold against withstand water. They just straight off. So we end up at Red Bank Gorge. We end up meeting a guy called Finn, and he actually had leucoplast tape, I think it was called, and so he gave us some. I'll just show you. He had a roll of it, and he gave us some, and Leo just wrapped it around his poles, leucoplast tape, in case. And you, yeah. But he didn't end up needing it. So basically, the leucoplast tape, I think, from what I've heard from other trekkers, is a lot better, and it actually just stays on your feet. Finn said that it really stuck on his feet for a couple of days through water, through sweating. But the leucoplast unfortunately just peeled straight off. And also, as a preventative measure too, I had the second band-aids on my hips, and as well I did put them just to stop, because when we were going predominantly uphill, there was a bit of rubbing on the back of my heels, so just so I didn't get blisters, again, the glue on the leucoplast tape, I react to that. So I'm also allergic to latex, so and a lot of Band-Aid glues, so I couldn't put that on me. But the second skin Band-Aids are okay, so I would put them on the back of my heels. Now the Band-Aid brand, they worked really well. They stayed on for about 3 days, through water, through Hugh Gorge, the swimming, so all the swims I did, and just through walking, sweating, they stayed on. But the brand, they fell off within 15 minutes. So I don't recommend getting that brand. The second skin Band-Aids, and you can go back and have a look in my pre-trek video to see exactly what I'm talking about, because I think I'll show the little packages. But yeah, don't get the compound ones, get the Band-Aid brand ones. I think that's all regarding first aid. I was just really happy that we took the flights. We had them to keep ourselves hydrated, and like for the first 3 days, we had those. For the first 3 days, we had it 3 times a day, and that really helped. Electronics. So I only used one of my 256 gigabyte cards. I dumped the drone. It was just too heavy with all the batteries and the controller. Dumped that. I had 6 GoPro batteries, and I could easily keep. I kind of had 3 on me that I used. I use roughly one a day, one GoPro battery a day. A little bit more if I was doing like a time lapse, maybe 1.5. And I could easily keep them charged with using my little. I had like a little Vitamax, and it's a 10,000 milliamp power bank, and just using that, I kept them going like the whole trip. Just those 3, and with the USB chargers in the shelters. I didn't even need my second power bank, which was the Sharp. It was a 26,000 milliamp one. I didn't even need that. To be honest, once I dumped the drone, we managed to keep everything charged up. I didn't end up taking the solar panel. I dumped that. Yeah, so in terms of the last thing then is the luxury items. So yeah, didn't take the Kindle went, and the Helinox chair went. And yeah, so and the only other things that I really a luxury item, I guess, was in my luxury item category were the trekking poles, and they were 100% needed too. It was the kind I've never used 2 trekking poles before. The trips or the hiking that I've done, but this trip 2 was absolutely essential. Like I don't know how I would have completed the trail without having 2 walking sticks. Like they just saved me so many falls and was super handy. Just definitely recommend taking 2 trekking poles. So Leo didn't have any poles. We were just going to have one each. He ended up buying some last minute for him, and we strongly recommend. I mean, you as well, 100% take 2 trekking poles as well. So I think that's just because of the terrain. Just I couldn't have done the trail without 2 trekking poles. I don't. So I think that's it. I don't think there's anything else. If anybody's got any questions about the trail, they can pop them up in the chat. But otherwise, so that's pretty much our first trek equipment review. So Leah, do you have anything else you want to add? Okay, well, we don't have any questions, so we'll head off. So we're going to probably do another live stream where we just do some Q&A of common questions asked about the Larapinta Trail. Nothing that's like kind of seasonal, like is there water here or were there flies there? Because that's something you ask people going in the opposite direction on the trail. But things that aren't seasonal, like we'll probably answer some of those questions. So I hope you found this sort of interesting and might help you plan your trek and not make some of the mistakes we did. Bye bye, everyone.